ourselves, what type of mindset do we need to be successful with AI?
That's the question right there. And so it's all about having an open mindset and being a lifelong learner. AI will not destroy the world, neither will it bring about world peace. So it's right in the middle. So if we look at it as a tool for change, we move forward. We have to stay on it in regards to what's going forward. I'd like to share my screen if I could, and I think hopefully this will be helpful. What I find is, as far as the mindset is concerned, you have two schools of, is it going to take my job? Will I become irrelevant? Or I'm going to rock with it. I'm excited. So it's almost like a raging river that I compare it to. But how do you ride the river? Well, within rivers, as an anecdotally, there's always something called a river eddy, and a river eddy is basically this a swirling body of water that stays still. And I think we are in a river eddy now where we have an opportunity to think through what our strategy is. We can think through what we can learn next. And that's what we're talking about today. That's why I'm so excited that everybody's here to learn. So that's the big thing. So the mindset is this. Look at yourself not just as an employee, but as a brand. Look at yourself as you run a company, because I feel personally that all large companies have organizations within a company. I wrote a book years ago called Touchstone that talked about internal economies, where there's always a customer, there's always a vendor inside of companies. So there's always this an opportunity to lead a business. So if you're leading your organization or you're leading your position, you have to think about a competitive advantage, because if it's your company, you need a competitive advantage. You also talk about a competitive differentiator. Why should someone hire you versus the competition? Why should someone use your company versus the competition? And then you have to think about what's called a data moat. And that's the big thing we'll talk about in just a minute. And a data moat is basically the internet itself, everything that has existed and been printed since the Gutenberg printing press back in the 1400s. We all have access to it, but how are we going to utilize that? And the other two things are efficiency as far as velocity is concerned. How fast will you learn a new technology, not just AI, but just as far as your job is concerned, and how are you going to evolve? And the other thing too is experimentation. I'm going to talk about the skill sets needed to be successful, but if you're really willing to experiment with tools that will provide and applications, everybody's better off than worse off. So the biggest mindset, be a life learner, don't be scared.
So, all right. So from that, what I'm getting, don't be scared, right? And it's definitely not going away. We get that. So how can we adjust what we do, right? How can we think more of AI first mindset? Because and I really want to dig into that one, because I don't know that we think that way necessarily now. I feel like most people are still probably in that 90s, early 2000s business mindset, still thinking in terms of I don't know, you don't think of, I guess for us, I'm Gen X,
Mhm.
And we were born before the digital age and into it. So we always think, I think real world first, and then how it applies digitally.
Mhm.
But how can we change that mindset, right? And think AI first, instead of the reality first.
When it comes to change of any sort, whether it's relational, whether it's business, whether it's technology, there's always a need for a nudge. It's like no one will change unless you have to. There's no evolution till it needs to be. So in regard to this age, you mentioned the expression AI first. I say AI centric. We all have to be AI centric. If not, we will be left behind. That's just no doubt. As I mentioned, 300,000 jobs will be eliminated worldwide, but another 133 million will be invented. And the question is, how do we prepare for it? Because at this point, 65% of hiring managers will not hire you without AI experience. So you need that acumen, and it's just here, and you can get it anywhere. So in regards to creating that change, think about this. older technologies, as you mentioned, was the personal computer, the internet, smartphones, streaming, and e-commerce, Amazon. All of those technologies were all about receiving information, right? So, but now AI is about the distribution of information, the reasoning of information. So the differentiator for us, we need to be problem solvers. We need to be analytical thinkers, creative thinkers, critical thinkers, and just have a sense for what needs to happen holistically. Now, because of our workforce, we have a habit of just kind of focusing in on what I need to do from 8 to 5, get my paycheck and get home. That's fine. That'll pay the bills. But in order for us to be eccentric as far as AI is concerned, we have to think more broadly as you think about your job. And that's the biggest thing I want to talk about here is the skill sets needed is number one, experimentation. Be willing to look at these tools. I have 77 apps that I'll share with you today. We're not going to talk about all. I'm just going to give you a list. I'll highlight a couple of them, but experimentation. Get online, try them, see if they break, see if they work for you, and then speed to iteration, which basically is how fast will you get through, oh, that works, or that doesn't work, and then put it to use. Now, here's the caveat here is within Humana and our enterprise, we are restricted to the type of applications that we use because of the HIPAA laws that we have to adhere to. Fine. But we also have personal computers, we all have them, that you can use to get up with your skill set. So the third point is rethink your job, because what's happening now within Humana, we have 200 different use cases for AI. A lot of them will either save time, save money, make money, relieve stress, and improve the human experience. We're either procuring more members, keeping more members, making money, saving money. And if you're in the crosshairs of that, your job will be affected. The way you become future-proofed is look at this is what I can do, and this is how AI can help me. You don't wait for someone to tell you that AI can help. You go out and say, how can AI help me in my job? So that's my big thing. Really rethink where you are. So I'm going to pause there and make sure that that's answering your question.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely. So, okay, with that, from a leadership standpoint, right? What do leaders need to learn to guide, this AI adoption or to really lead the charge here?
So I'm going to say something that's a little controversial, but this has always been a safe space. If you have a leader that is not AI centric or not AI first or is leaning against don't use that technology, they're going to be left behind. Hence, you will be left behind. So as leaders, let's be open-minded. Let's experiment. And here's the thing: everything that worked didn't at first. So go about trying things out. Most jobs, I would say it's 75% of jobs that exist today did not exist in the 70s. And it's like, oh, that's a long time ago. It really was not, because as evolution happens, it takes time. So just like the jobs that exist today, they will not exist in a couple of years because the speed of innovation is just going so fast. Here's an example. There's close to 9 billion people on Earth. About 5.5 billion people are on the internet. Only 250 million people are using ChatGPT, which means only 4% of people that are on the internet understand the need for AI. 4%, which means this is a good opportunity to be in your river eddy, to level up, and as a leader, get people involved. There was a article in the Harvard Business Review in regards to retooling for AI. I have that in print. I'll send that to you as well. But one of those things that it talked about is knowing your job first, and this is from a leadership perspective, and then seeing what value can you bring with this new technology. Because what AI does is, it does a couple of things, but I'm going to highlight one thing. It does what's called knowledge surfacing, which basically is all the information and data we have as far as our employees and our customers are concerned. It gives us an opportunity to take a look at it. And then it also looks at number two, patterns. patterns that we can't see because it's just so much information. It's just trying to figure out which raindrop turned into the ocean. You never know because it's just too much. And then lastly, it's a matter of content generation, how we're able to take all of this information and create new content. Now, when we think about content generation, we think social media, but content generation is all over the place. But the mindset is being open to those three areas and then experiment. It won't work out all the time, but continue to push forward. That's the differentiator between a leader that's going to stick and those who are going to be moving forward. As far as AI, you're either going to be on fire or be fired. That's how it's going to be.
All right, I like that, man. So, okay, what are you saying to those people though that like okay, so for a long time, in my house, when Chat GPT, the first version, I think it was 3.0, the first like version when it first took off, I was on it, right? And I pull it up every day. I work from it, been working for a couple of years. And I remember talking to my wife about it. I remember talking to some people on my team about it at the time. And there was some sentiment that you're cheating, right? There's some cheating going on there, right? I liken it to sort of it's like Google. Instead of going to the library, you go to Google, right? And that's what I liken it to. What do you say to those that feel like it is cheating, right? That you're not really doing what you're supposed to do?
I look at it this way, and I got two thoughts on that. We all had a broom before in our household. We use a broom for, sweeping and whatever. But when the vacuum cleaner was invented, we didn't say, we're cheating the broom. It's just a better technology. So we also have both. So we have a broom to clean up, but we also have a vacuum cleaner, a greater technology. The same thing when it comes to AI and the tools we have. When the calculator came about, that wasn't cheating. It was an opportunity to take advantage of the new technology invented. Same thing in horse and buggy. We had the horse and buggy for years, but when the car was invented, the horse and buggy didn't go away, but we had a better way to transport things, just like the train. But new jobs were created, new experiences were created. Here's something to keep in mind. This is very interesting because we end up having this conversation. Marcel, you and I, we didn't talk about this yet, but this is very common. So the history of the browser, and I am going to get to where we are as far as the internet is concerned. The internet itself was created back in the 1960s by the military. People know that. And then, but the internet as we know it today, the browser rather, was created in 1990 by the guy by the name of Tim Berners-Lee, I believe. And Tim, he just basically wanted a way to organize a way to look at what's on the internet, because unless you just actually gone to a particular site or area, you didn't know. So the browser was created. So once that browser was created, and this was in Britain, they had an opportunity to take IP addresses because IPs were around, and put a camera, a grayscale camera and a monitor on a coffee pot that was in another room. This is back in 1993. And these developers, they didn't want to just walk to the other room to see whether the coffee pot was full or not. So they basically had a monitor on the coffee, and they would go to the IP address, see if the coffee pot was full or empty. And that was the beginning of something that changed everything. That was the first foray as far as streaming was concerned. So at this point, this is if we can do this with a coffee pot, we can do this with anything because now we have a browser. We can transport information. We can create things like Google, because that's when Larry Page came about. Larry Page created the original Google. His first name of it was called Backrub. It's a creepy name, so he changed it to Google. But it was a way to look at all the things that were created on the internet. But here's my point. Everything that was procured happened over like 30 years. No one saw it happening, but it was taking place. Sort of like the Chinese bamboo that, germinates for, 5 years and then jumps, 90 feet in 6 weeks. So this internet concept and all this data was procuring. And then now we have the browser. And then you got, remember Netscape and Mozilla, things of that nature. So here's the point. where we were as far as the browser is concerned and how things changed, we're in that same space now. Because if we look at applications and they're starting to pop up everywhere, there's so much development as far as AI is concerned. It can solve an amazing amount of problems. So my thing is, as far as, is it cheating? No, it's just a matter of taking advantage of the technologies that we have in front of us. If it's not really, what's the point of us being here?
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Uh, the way you explain these things, man, Wade, you do it in such an easy, understandable way. It's a wealth of knowledge. So I really appreciate that. We do have some questions that are coming in the chat.
Okay.
And we're definitely going to get to those. I just want to make sure that we're staying on task with making sure we get all the information out. So I do want to say I'm going to go through some questions, right, that I have for him that I think are going to answer some of the questions that we have in the chat.
Okay.
And then if they don't, then please, audience, be mindful and make sure you let me know, at about a quarter till maybe, if there's still a question that you're having. But I think we're going to answer some of these questions as they're coming through.
Okay.
So I want to talk about, I have some ideas about productivity.
Okay.
That I want to get into. What AI tools can we use? You're talking about 77 apps, right?
Mm-hmm.
What tools can we use to work smarter and harder? What tools do you use, man?
So I'm all over the place. Like this, we ended up talking earlier. I'm a big proponent of ChatGPT, but I look at it as Albert Einstein is in the next room, and I ask him anything that I want. But it's not just Albert. It's Steve Jobs. I give him some smelling salt and some heater to bring him back to life. Anybody who can help me with a particular problem, I look at ChatGPT as my confidant in that regard. So so let me get into some ideas here. So here's a couple of apps that I recommend, and this is again on the list that I have it queued to send you in just a minute. But I'm going to start with Workflow. In regards to AI, it has some lot of good fun stuff as far as creating music and beats and all animation. That's all great and cute, and that's great. I want to know how to get better, smarter. So I use Zapier, and that gives me an opportunity to take everything that I have and that everything that I'm doing and having conversations is based on all of my work and responsibilities. This is what's taking place. This is the value that I want to bring. How can I make this come to fruition? I don't know why I have a tickle in my throat today. So I use that, and I recommend that highly because all of a sudden it puts you on steroids as far as productivity is concerned. Now, one of the areas as far as personal assistants are concerned, again, ChatGPT, love that. But the two that I like to use for mental health is Pi. If you haven't used Pi yet, it's amazing. You can just put it on your phone and you can it's free, and you can just have conversations as detailed as possible as far as what your challenges and travails are and what you want to accomplish. And it feeds back to you and it remembers what you talked about. It feeds back to you just some thoughts and ideas as far as how to get over, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a micromanaging boss, whatever, it helps you out with that. Pi is amazing. I definitely recommend that. Now,
is that so? I want to pause you right there.
Yeah.
Is that the app? Like on social media, I see people talking to AI, and it talks back. Is that what that is?
It could be. There's so many personal assistant AIs out there now. It could be, but maybe. But you can change the voice, so it can be something you're comfortable with. But it could be. But I've definitely used that quite a bit. Now that's fine. Now here's one that I really, really am into, and that is Perplexity AI. If you use ChatGPT for assistance and questions and back and forth, because I have these conversations and I don't always agree with my chat. I don't, and because I don't have to. So I'll challenge it and I'll ask it, is this the truth? Because it will, tell you stuff that's not true. It will hallucinate. No, that's not true. It'll tell you. I said, well, based on the truth or based on the internet, based on this, tell me this. One thing that I did very recently was based on the information that you have from Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Acorn, and Robinhood, what are the best AI stocks out there? He gave it to me. What is today's stock prices? Is it a buy or a sell? So trust and verify there. So those are the kinds of things that it do. But Perplexity AI, again, one of those response applications that's really good. Now, here's another one as far as productivity is concerned, and that is Google Notebook LM. Now, Claude will read a book for you and tell you about the book. Anthropic will do that. But Google Notebook, you can have a conversation with it. Let's say if we've had this conversation about AI, you've taken notes, and you go into Google Notebook LM, and then you feed it all the notes from this meeting. It will create a podcast for you with two people having a conversation about what you fed it. It's absolutely a game-changing thing. And I don't use game-changing a lot, but it is like, oh my gosh, so that's another one. So those are just some, and I can go on and on. Let me just do a few more for the sake of time. I want to leave some time with questions. Otter AI, this is for when we all have these meetings, these long meetings, and our attention spans are 9 seconds. So to catch all the information, I use translations and summarizations for content in regards to listening and gathering information, get the salient points. Again, look for patterns, look for knowledge surfacing, and look for generating content. So it has the ability to listen and then provide what you need there. The same thing with the same thing with NVIDIA and then Movio. Those are contents or applications that allow you to create video content. Now, here's the question or a statement. Because we are working for an organization, most people have side hustles. I get that and definitely encourage it. Most people like video content over written content. That's just kind of how it is. And of course, we want to write some stuff out. But I would become very adroit in creating meaningful video content in short snippets. This is why TikTok is so amazing, because look at what it is. It's short video, short video. That's no accident. So I would definitely use these kind of opportunities to create video content so you can talk about whatever your expertise is, whether it's project management, whether it's risk, whether it's some type of content as far as creating content is concerned. Two more, and then I'll pause, and that is Copy AI. Now, Copy AI gives you the opportunity to do just that. It will write for you based on your general thought process. And when you're using these tools, guys, don't just use it and copy paste. Make sure it's representing you. Make sure it's representing what you want to put out there. So everything from a talk description, or if you're selling something on Etsy or whatever, it creates those things. Social media posts, it creates those things. And here's the thing, here's a little nugget here. Maybe you're wondering, how are these people making so much money on YouTube? Where they find the time? How do I get monetized on YouTube? This is what they're doing. You can just talk about a particular topic. I'm gonna use Copy AI. And then let's say there's a million different ways to look at any topic like AI. Let's say if you have something on AI versus HI, human intelligence. So you write a little article, use Copy AI to write that 50 different ways, post it 50 different times. All of a sudden you got times X exposure on social media. Same thing with video. One area that I didn't mention here was Opus Clips. And I use Opus Clips for like this video, I'll put this in Opus Clips. I'll have it, it's an AI. It can differentiate different topics, and I'll take it, download it to Opus, and then type in some areas that I want to focus in on, like AI tools. And then it will give me a 30-second, 60-second, or 90-second clip on that particular topic. I can just take it, download it, and I can do that in a matter of 5 minutes. You're done. So these are some of the things that keep us productive. At first, it sounds like stuff that's outside of work, but as you think about the job that you have to do at Humana, a lot of things are internal to what we do. I'm going to pause before I go.
I got you. Robin has a question. Robin, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the floor. I see your hand is raised. I'm gonna allow you to go ahead and ask that question.
Thank you. I'm just trying to figure out how to get this Strider. So now the Strider we can use within Humana. That's what I'm gathering from what you said in the questions.
Correct.
So when I go into the link, and some people have provided the link. So when I go to that, it's asking for a file. So is that how the Humana approved AI works? Like you always have to go in and put the data in, or is there a way that you can actually download the application so that as you're working, sort of like how Grammarly is, as you're working, you can hit the button and it automatically does it. If you could quickly like kind of just summarize how that tool actually works so I could use it.
Absolutely. Two-part answer there. The first one is this. So for Strider and any generative AI tool, it always works the same as far as it needs data to work with. And we have data within Humana or the data that you provided, but that data is limited. It's not the internet itself, but it is data that we have here at Humana or what you give it. So answer the question, yes, you have to provide that data. We do have what's called an LLM, large language model, which has the ability to look at data and then and communicate it back to you in English, if you know whatever language we're speaking. So because there's so much information, and just kind of I'll get into it just a little bit. So we have so much data, so data has to be assigned a number because this is the technology. And these numbers use what's called a neural network, and the neural network assigns everything that it knows to a number. And then that number is assigned back to an LLM or a letter. So with that being said, we do need data first so Strider can work with it. Here's the second part as far as the model is concerned. It's not the robust model that Claude has or Gemini has or ChatGPT has because it costs an awful lot of money to create those and keep them running. But it does give us a general opportunity to figure some stuff out. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but as far as Claude is, I mean, not Claude, as far as Strider is concerned, give it the information, allow it to spew back what you need, and keep asking it questions until you get what you need. Did that answer your question there?
I think so. So you're saying if I have an email, I can put it in that application run and it can spit back out how to make it better.
Yeah, a better email.
Then I can copy and paste it and put it in my, okay. Yes, you answered my question. Thank you.
Exactly. So here's the thing. As far as data is concerned, you have to tell it, and we'll talk about at maybe this time or another time, prompt engineering. And prompt engineering is basically your ability to ask for what you need. I need an ice cream. I need a vanilla ice cream. I need it on a cone. I want sprinkles. So you have to be very specific as to what's happening there.
So, okay, and you know, I feel like I've used AI quite a bit. I definitely feel like a novice compared to you, Wade. And I would want to say, Robin, for those of you who haven't really or are just now starting to get into AI, Strider, if I had to compare this, and this is my unexpert opinion, Strider is more like maybe a preschool or elementary school student, whereas, you know, Claude and these other ChatGPT, these other AI models are probably more like a graduate student, right? As far as the information that, you know, what they're able to do with the information and the question, you know, with the, you know, able to answer your question. So keep that in mind as you play with that internal tool. I want to ask this question too, because Q has it in there. Then Tomas, I see your hand is up. We'll get to you. So Q said, obviously the power of AI is in the user's ability to ask the right questions to get the output they desire. But do you fear that continual use will dumb down books and lessen their own creative abilities? For example, or you know, we will lose our great poets, writers, etc.
That's a great question. My gosh, that's a great question. And the answer is yes and no. Technology has dumbed down people anyway because we watch more TV, because we, you know, instead of learning how to play instruments, we listen to them, which is great too. But so technology within itself has dumbed us down as far as productivity is concerned or creativity. However, at the same time, it has given us an opportunity to level up in regards to some other areas as far as expanding what exactly is possible. So because one of the things that AI within itself does, and here's the thing, guys, as I talk about AI, it's not end all be all. I look at it as for the productivity tool that it is. I'm a real creative person by nature. I play instruments, and I enjoy that. AI can help me with some sounding, but it doesn't help me with what's going on cerebrally. So to answer your question, I wouldn't say it would make us less smart. I would say what we need to do is continue to sharpen our saws and sharpen our skills in regards to creative thinking, in critical thinking, strategic planners, if you will, problem solvers. And if we do that, you're better off with that as a tool versus on I'm gonna just press enter and go to sleep. We work it. It's a coworker. It's not definitely our slave.
Gotcha. Tomorrow, I want to go ahead and give you a chance to answer your questions.
All right,
Right.
thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, hey, Wade, how you doing?
Hey, Tamal.
So I'm Tamal. I work in Centerville, so I work along with Wade as far as some of the integrated health, as far as the AI stuff that's coming down the pipe with the many different use cases within the integrated health space with Centerville. Not necessarily a question, but more of a reply back. The gentleman that definitely asked the question was very important and key based on is AI dumbing us down in what shape or form, right? Which Wade did articulate correctly is not, right? I think it's really on how we ask the question to AI to get the response that we want, right? It's asking some of the key words as far as, hey, can you rewrite that for a CIO or a CFO, or can you give me some bullet points? So it's all about how you ask the question, how you want the question to the output to be phrased on by adding them keywords in there to get your response back. So I think sometimes we write emails, it's somewhat difficult because it's like, are we articulating ourselves in that manner to the audience? Are we putting the right type of information in there? So how we write our question and based on the output is key, but also we want to say, hey, let's go ahead and rewrite that in a different format, right? So I definitely want to add on to that piece. That's all I had. Thanks.
Yeah, I like that, Tamal, and Wade, for you to dig into it. You know, there's a lot of once. I think right now we're talking right to get you into AI. Hopefully, you're already there and have that interest too. And to Tamal's point, there's almost a whole culture around AI prompts. Like you can go to YouTube,
Yeah,
and spend 15, 30 minutes just looking at videos on the best prompt.
right. There you go. That's your river eddy. Remember, it's a raging river. It's always this peaceful place. Take 15, 20 minutes. I mean, but just take a couple of minutes, figure out what your job is, rethink that, and then find those apps. And as far as prompt engineering is concerned, here's the thing. When we started talking about prompt engineering 2 years ago, because of OpenAI, we've been prompt engineering for 20 years, just not in a public forum. Prompt engineering, and hear me on this, will go away. And the reason why is because we have the ability to have conversations with LLMs right now, and it understands what we're doing, and it can articulate what's needed. And because, for example, like ChatGPT, IO rather, and Claude Mini, they have a chance to reason out what's needed. We'll end up just having these conversations with our phone and with our computer. And it's just a matter of asking the right questions and be able to reason out what really needs to take place, which is not necessarily prompt engineering anymore. It's just a matter of understanding holistically, this is the thing that I'd like to accomplish. What is the value? So just what the thing that you want to work on at now, it is prompt engineering, yes, but understand that that is a small boat that gets you from a island back to land. But once you're in land, prompt engineering will sort of kind of go away. And we see that a little bit when we hear about no coding and low coding. It's definitely heading that way.
I like that. All right. So I know a few of you in the chat said you didn't get didn't get the email, we will make sure that every single attendee on this meeting, Zoom puts out a report. We'll make and it includes your email. We'll make sure that you get a copy of this information. In addition to that, you can always reach out to Wade. Come on now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm serious. I know my brothers at MBK. I would love to know more. I've only been here 2.5 years. Any questions, please let me know. I'm an open book. I've learned from someplace. I don't mind disseminating what I know. I don't mind at all.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you. All right, so I definitely have some more questions here, but I want to make sure that our audience gets a chance. We only have about 9 minutes. I'm going to call it 8. I want to make sure that our audience gets a chance to ask, get any questions answered. Or whether, Alfred, I want to first go to you or Sydney and ask, were there any questions that we did not seem to answer in the conversation that we've had right now that you've seen in the chat? Or if someone on the call has asked a question and you haven't heard an answer for it, I invite you to come up here.
Yeah, not that I can see. Like I said, Marcel, I believe you've done a great job interacting with the chat, answering those questions. But yeah, if anyone wants to come off mute, I'd say that this would be a great time. And then, like I said, the email had over like 300 people on there. I'm getting kickbacks now to my inbox. So if you haven't got it, just give it a second. It should be coming your way now. Thanks again for putting that together for us. It's an awesome package, Wade.
Appreciate it. One thing I want to say, I'm gonna stop sharing right now, but one thing I want to say as we start to answer questions is what's Humana and Cinnamon is doing. It's working with business owners. When I say business owners, those who are responsible for pharmacy, PCO, home health, integrated solutions, things of that nature, integrated health. It's a matter of asking the right question in regards to what do you want to accomplish in regards to your area and your jobs. So since that's the approach Humana is taking, that's the approach we want to take as individuals. What do you want to accomplish? There's an app for everything, just about. I think the only skill set that's safe from AI, I would say it's plumbing. I mean, because you can because there's no data collection for get down to the basement, find the leak, and patch that thing up and pump the water out. It's not, but it could be. But it's just those kinds of jobs that are only safe. But here we are in offices. So there's always an app and there's always a solution that AI can help you with. It will not eliminate you. That's why we use the word integrated or augmented intelligence versus artificial, because we're augmenting our jobs.
Love that. All right, Karen Ash, I see you have your hand raised. Welcome.
Hey, Karen.
Thanks. Hey, Wade, you and I have had conversations about this, but and I do believe that AI opens a wide door for possibility. So I appreciate you sharing. But the question I have is, how do we protect ourselves from the bad actors out there that are doing things with AI now that compromises our own data and our banking and things of that nature?
Hi, Karen. Good to see you. Always good to see you. So we've always had bad actors. We've always had, before internet, when we were faxing, bad actors. People talk about the fear of data. Remember the phone book? I mean, people were just slinging out information at our doorsteps. There'll always be bad actors when it comes to this technology. It's just a matter of overcoming it with security, making sure that your data is just not out there. And then when it comes to applications and emails, just be really vigilant as far as, is this legitimate? As far as organizations are concerned, we have several security departments that help us with procuring software that protects data. We created this year, it's called an AIRB, our Artificial Intelligence Review Board, where we're looking at applications specifically for AI. So just like we had to be ultra vigilant as far as protecting ourselves before this technology, because there'll always be bad actors, we have to just do the same thing there. One of the things that I recommend when it comes to AI and these tools, if it's asking for personal information outside of a credit card, I would be very, cautious in regards to that. If you're trying to solve a problem, that's one thing, but I would be very cautious as far as giving out, your parents' names, dog, pet names, things of that nature, which is normal stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Marcus, I see your hands up, sir. You got and I want to keep in mind, we have about 3 minutes left, right? So let's keep that. Go ahead, Marcus.
Okay, so I'll make this quick. This is a very quick question.
Hey,
So how
Marcus.
did we mentioned before, Wade, and thanks again for providing this information. It's very good. You mentioned before about sometimes AI tools will hallucinate.
Mhm.
You have to ask it, is this truthful?
Yes.
So my question to you is, how do we ensure I guess lack of a better word, the ethics around asking the right questions? Because you could ask a question and get a result that is not the true result, but the result that you want it to be, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that when you're approaching these tools?
That falls under the guise of responsible AI. So now a couple things. We'll do this really quickly. Most AI engines and models, if you ask it how to build an atomic bomb, it will not answer that question. If you ask it, show me pornography, it will not answer that question because there are guardrails around things that are not ethical. But if you're giving, like, for example, you have some finances that you want to analyze or just some data, and you're using an open source as far as data is concerned, you continue to ask that question. But here's the thing, it's also a trust and verify. So Marcus, if it gives you information, yay that it give you that information, but we need to take that human time to say, hey, this is right, but this is not right. So we argue with it or disagree with it, but we also make that change. So again, while it's autonomous in some areas, because in 2025, the big thing will be more autonomous AI agents, where it's actually doing the work that we're doing. We have to have a human to check this as, yes, this is what we need to do versus not. So the answer there is that's where the human intervention lies in regards to our checks, balances, trust, and verify.
Okay, so yeah, wrapping this up, man, we can continue this conversation easily for another hour,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I do want to apologize because I know that there's some questions, there's some ideas that you have that were probably just tickling, right? And that's really the purpose of this. I like Antoine's suggestion in the chat. Can we have another session based around race and gender, right? You talked about that when we first talked about AI, right?
Mhm.
And representing, Black representation and AI being able to recognize Black faces and whatnot. So love that. We will definitely get into those conversations in 25. Wade will definitely be back. If I have mine, if I put my hand on the scale, he'll be a staple here for this audience, right? And we'll continue the conversation. But Wade, man, can't thank you enough, man. Really appreciate you and your knowledge base, man. I'll give you the last couple seconds to say whatever you want to say what you want to say.
I appreciate it. So really quickly, rethink everything. Rethink how you do your job, rethink how you analyze, because I used to compare AI to oil and how, it will never run out of it. But no, AI is more like energy to nuclear fusion. It's really limitless because it's getting smarter all the time. So just rethink exactly, and just don't think this is how I used to do it last year, what I want to do next year. Think about that times X. How can I make a $10 million company? How can I make a $50 million company? Things of that nature. And then it answers that question. Just expand and just go crazy with it. But I'm here. I'll be here as long as they let me. So just reach out to me and we'll definitely have conversations. Nice to meet everybody.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, man.